again, everyone. Vanessa Kelman here, introducing my third book, Tempting Fate. This is the third book in the Fate Trilogy, though this is definitely even more of a spinoff than the second one was to the first. We are introduced to a character named Jackie, who is a very bit part in accepting fate. She is a member of Mary's book club. So let's read the summary here, and then we'll dive right in and take a peek inside. Can you control the changes in your life, or do they control you? Jackie has always been scared of change. She's built a quiet, comfortable life for herself, free from drama and chaos. But when she faces a big change at work, her life is thrown into upheaval, and she can't help but wonder what would happen if she seized the opportunity to change more than just her job. Meanwhile, Paul has a big decision to make. Faced with the threat of divorce and the possibility of a career change, he has to decide what it is he really wants. But that's much easier said than done, especially when emotions keep him chained to the past. Change is never easy, but when it happens, is it better to throw caution to the wind or play it safe by living in denial? Let's take a peek inside. Chapter 1, October. Jackie hated change. Actually, hate was a strong word. It was more like she was terrified of change. That's not to say that nothing had ever changed for her, just that the changes were usually out of her control, like today. The letter was professional, concise. She sat at her kitchen table reading it over and over. The doctor she worked for, a pediatrician, was retiring. Understandable, considering he was well into his 70s, but it meant that either he would be selling his practice or the office would be closing. The decision had still not been made, and either option made Jackie panic. With a deep breath, Jackie tried to fortify herself. This would be good, she told herself. Maybe this change would encourage her to make other changes in her life at last. Maybe she could get off her hamster wheel and join real life, whatever that was. A year ago, she had asked a fellow book club member, Mary, about making some changes. Mary had revitalized her life, and Jackie hoped to do the same. But it was easy to talk about it. It was a lot harder to actually take the steps. So, aside from some volunteer work around the holidays, nothing had been different, and it remained the same to this day. Forcing herself to take a few deep breaths, Jackie stood up and made a cup of tea. As she stirred in the sugar, her mind whirred. She wished she could be excited about the change. Her life had grown quite stagnant. She got up, went to work, came home. Tuesday nights were book club meetings, but the rest of the week was spent at home, cleaning or quietly reading on her own. She had a few friends she met for coffee on occasion, but their lives were so different from her own that she found they didn't have much to talk about. She should be happy that things were getting shaken up. This would be good, but she couldn't help biting her lower lip in worry. Paul took a deep breath and slammed the trunk of his car. This would be good, he told himself. A change of scenery, a bit of a break from norm. Maybe his wife would come to her senses while he was gone. Divorce? It seemed so official, so final. And he loved her, didn't he? After a quick mental checklist, Paul slid into the driver's seat and inserted his key into the ignition. He was thrilled to be leaving. He wasn't thrilled to be leaving, but Pam hadn't given him many options. Leave of his own free will, or she would have all of his items on the curb when he returned from work. Who would have thought she could be so harsh? At least Uncle Bill had been willing to take him in. Paul had always been close with his uncle, but as the years had passed, they didn't see each other as often as they liked. This time should give them an opportunity to catch up, and maybe Paul could get a little advice on what the heck had gone wrong. It took an hour to get to Bill's house, but it was a scenic drive. As Paul pulled into the driveway of the modest suburban home, he took another deep breath. This would be good. A couple of weeks away from work, a couple of weeks away from Pam, and it would be a great time to determine his next steps. Would it be enough time to convince Pam? He could only hope. Chapter 2. She loved her mother. Jackie had to keep telling herself that. As trying as it could be to carry on a conversation with her, Jackie loved her. Hi, Mom. She forced enthusiasm into her voice. Good morning, Jacqueline. How are you? I'm fine. Pleasantries and small talk followed, and by the time Jackie hung up the phone 15 minutes later, she was exhausted. Her mother insisted on these conversations once a week, but it was difficult to find enough to fill them. No matter what she said, she knew her mother would be opinionated and judgmental, which was perhaps why she had held off so long to change in the first place. There was always a little voice in the back of her head asking, what would mother say? Between the conversation with her mother and the aftermath of her boss's letter, Jackie felt like hiding in the corner and sulking like a child. And the combination left Jackie in no mood to return to work on Monday. But she had little choice. There were still bills to pay, and it certainly wouldn't show her maturity to hide in the corner and sulk like a child. Though if she would be out of a job anyway, it probably didn't matter much. It was a typical Monday morning with the phones ringing off the hook and a line of patients waiting to be seen. It was the beginning of flu season, and the sick children waiting in the front room broke Jackie's heart. She loved the little darlings. It was one of her favorite parts of the job, but she hated seeing them so miserable. Around noon, traffic slowed for a bit, since that was when Dr. Collins and the staff usually took their lunch break. Jackie set the phone to go into voicemail and reached for her lunch bag. The bell on the front door, though, caused her to look up. An attractive man in his late 30s smiled at her. There was no child by his side, and Jackie thought perhaps he was lost. Can I help you? Actually, I was looking for my uncle. I wanted to take him to lunch. Is Bill in? Let me check. Have a seat. Jackie gestured to the waiting room and sat back down. She rang the doctor's private office extension. When he picked up, she explained the visitor, then turned to the man waiting. He'll be right up. Thanks. Jackie resumed her tasks, then returned to the lunchroom. Dr. Collins never discussed family. He had never so much as mentioned any siblings or children. Jackie knew he had been married once, but his wife had passed away nearly 20 years earlier, and to the best of Jackie's knowledge, he had never sought companionship after that. She supposed that once you found the person you were meant to love forever, replacing the person would be impossible. She sighed wistfully, then scolded herself. She had been reading too many romance novels. Still, it was nice to know the doctor wasn't completely alone. Just as Jackie was returning to her desk an hour later, Dr. Collins and his nephew returned to the office. Jackie had never seen the doctor so happy. He laughed and smiled and patted his nephew on the back. When he saw her, he grinned. Great news, Miss Robbins. My nephew has decided to spend the next couple of weeks helping out in the office. Maybe we can convince him to stick around, eh? Now, Uncle Bill, we discussed this. The nephew shot his uncle a look. I'm just taking a break. Going back in a couple of weeks. We'll see about that. The doctor turned back to Jackie. Make sure we set him up with an office and a few patients, okay? Your nephew is a doctor too? Jackie was surprised. You bet. I taught him everything he knows. Well, not everything. I did go to medical school, or at least that's what my student loan bills tell me. Dr. Collins waved his hand. Yes, but I taught you the important stuff. Bedside manner and how to keep your patients. He winked at Jackie. This guy's quite a charmer, thanks to me. The nephew laughed and Jackie blushed. From his flirtatious smile, she had figured that out for herself. With a professional nod, her mind began to whir, getting the doctor's nephew set up. There was no shortage of patients to care for, but the office was a bit harder to come by. There was a little used room at the end of the hallway that could be converted, but it would require work, and some furniture. But Jackie was nothing if not efficient, and she would take care of it. It didn't take long for Paul to get settled. The cozy office his uncle's receptionist had arranged suited his purposes, and he found he enjoyed working with children. It was quite a change of pace from the whiny adults he usually dealt with. While he hadn't expected to work on his vacation, he had quickly found himself growing bored, and boredom led his mind into uncomfortable territory. He had leapt at the opportunity to help out in his uncle's medical office. While he knew his uncle had ulterior motives, getting him to take over the practice for one, he would take what he would get, one day at a time. With so much up in the air, it was all he could handle. Paul had just sat down at his new desk when there was a tap on the door. He looked up to find the receptionist, Jackie, hovering in the doorway. Hi, Jackie. How can I help you? I'm sorry to bother you, Dr. Casey, but Dr. Collins wanted me to make sure you were all set. Are you missing anything? Is your office all right? My office is fine, he said, leaning back in his chair and smiling. I thank you for getting it ready so quickly. Jackie blushed. It wasn't a problem. Your next appointment is at 3. Another flu, I'm afraid. I hope you don't get sick. Paul laughed. I've been around sick people for long enough. I think my immune system's the strongest it's ever been. I do feel bad for the kids, though. It can't be easy, especially with their parents hovering around them like they'll keel over if they sneeze. Jackie gave him a small smile. They can be rather overprotective, can't they? Yes, they can. But I guess I can't blame them. They just want what's best for their precious babies. Just let me know when the appointment gets here. All right. Jackie closed the door softly. Paul stared at the closed door with a pensive look. She was a tough one to figure out, that Jackie. Shy, quiet, reserved, and yet efficient and able to handle anything that was thrown her way. He wondered what her story was. With a shake of his head, he acknowledged he probably wouldn't be around long enough to find out. Besides, he had more important things to figure out, like how he was going to save his marriage. And there we go, a peek at Jackie and Paul. And the beginnings of their story. We'll see what happens. If you'd like to keep going and find out where their journey takes them, you can grab Tempting Fate at a variety of retailers. Check out the links on the